Today we have in shop the Nakamichi amplifiers from a 92 Lexus SC400. These have quite a few problems with them, but we're going to show you one of the most common problems with this amplifier. Usually it's the no power or thumping problem. We're going to start with a Phillips screwdriver. The model number we're working on today is the 86, 280, 240, 120, or Nakamichi calls it the B324 UL04. We're going to remove two Phillips screws, one from each end of the bottom cover. The heat sink's on the opposite end. And these two screws, they're short and fine Phillips screws. We probably have removal instructions for this amplifier on our website. If you need help with that, see that. There's questions are always welcome. If you have comments, please leave them, but questions get answered by contacting us. With those two screws removed, we're going to pry the bottom cover up from the corners. This will release the little tabs that help hold it in place. Getting under the edge without stabbing yourself is usually a good thing not to do. Now we're going to remove this cover, and we're going to set that to the side. We see no obvious burn marks or anything like most do have, but if you look closely, there is a dark section right about here on the circuit board. Next, we're going to remove the 5 screws through the top of the heatsink. There are 2 on one side and 1 on the other, and we're going to back these off. You hear when they disconnect because they'll continue to click. And we're going to do that for all 5 of these screws here. These secure the heat sinks in the amplifier circuit board to the heat sink on the top of the amplifier here. And with all these removed, we should be able to lift up this top heat sink and leave the board lying here on the bench. We're going to set this to the side. And the most common problems with this amplifier is sometimes we do see it burn. We've noticed that some of these capacitors have a white glue around them, and we have noticed that this the components as they work tend to emit a small gas that collects and turns into acid and eats the circuit board. So what we're going to do here is there are 4 main capacitors we're going to take care of here. The 2 standing tall here, and the 2 opposite ones here in the beginning of the power supply. Usually we're going to find damage under these, so we're going to remove these and see what we have. Now we've removed the 4 capacitors. But before we removed the 4 capacitors, we did draw a small diagram of the component layout. There are 4 components that we removed, 3 different values. We have a pair of 180 microfarads that go up here, 25 volts. The larger the other 2 was a 130 at 35 and then a 180 at 35. Once we remove the components, don't know if you can see it, but you can see that some of the copper is showing back underneath the 180s. This is the common problem with this amplifier. Again, these capacitors leak electrolytic acid. They have eaten up the circuit board's traces down here, so the power supply does not work properly. And we're going to clean up all the white sticky glue. Usually it takes scraping that down, and then we're going to come back with our sanding pen to clean up the circuit boards to see how much of that board we have to repair. Now we've cleaned up the circuit board. You can see some of the copper scrapings back. We did have an open trace here. Don't know if you can see where the jumper was placed across one of the open traces from one of the 2 capacitors placed here. But this is the most common problem. Usually I see a lot more burn marks. Usually you notice it when you first turn it over or take the bottom cover off. You see bottom burn marks in this area as well. Let me repopulate this board. Now we've repopulated the circuit board with the 4 new components. Also, while we were on the back soldering the new components in, I had mentioned earlier the brown section on the circuit board. We also did repair solder in this area as well because of the heat dissipation. Now, we have also seen some speakers out in this car, especially the front speakers out while the tweeters work. This is always a speaker problem in this car, so check that to make sure before attempting to repair the amplifier. Again, these two transistors that sit up cause the heat on the back. See our website for any other problems, carstereoremoval.com. Hope this video has been helpful. Comments are welcome. Questions, contact us for an answer. Thank you for watching.